What's going on, guys? It's been, I don't know, it's been quite a while since I filmed anything. It's probably been like easily 4 months or so. Things have changed quite a bit. Let me share and tell you about it. I'm starting to settle in finally in Salem. It's been a couple months and things have been kind of all over the place. I'm actually in a new room. It's the same apartment, but I was subletting before and ended up actually taking over the apartment, getting 2 new roommates, and taking my old bedroom and studio room and turning those into bedrooms for them, and ended up getting this slightly larger room and consolidating both of my studio and bedroom into the one space. Going back to my least favorite thing is working where I sleep, but it's okay. It's fine. It's been pretty good. I can't do nearly the same amount of projects that I was doing before when I had access to studio space. So basically what's happening now is I'm kind of starting over in my design and creative career. I've been working on and off professionally as an illustrator and designer for like the last 10 years, but things have been kind of up and down and fluctuating as far as like what I'm able to do, right? As far as like my limitations because of a studio space or lack of a studio space. So I'm getting back into doing more illustration stuff, which I personally love. It's my favorite kind of thing to do is to draw and make pictures, and I've since added to that workflow. I've made it easier for me to get back into painting. I'm still pursuing tattooing, and that's not something I really share a lot with you guys on here, but that is something that I'm doing on the side. Outside of YouTube, I don't really share much of that, but it is a process, and drawing Flash and preparing for that again mentally has been a lot. But the new space is pretty great. I figured I'd kind of check in and show you what I'm working with now. Not much has changed really. I still have my giant desk over here, and then over here, if you can see the corner, that's a new drafting table, which I really like a lot. It's the nicest one I've found for the price range for an all-wood drafting table that's lightweight, and it's sturdy. And that was the biggest thing I was looking for, was something that was going to be sturdy, that was going to have a surface that can be easily refinished or repaired if it gets damaged, unlike the cheaper melamine ones I personally am not a big fan of. Starting to add stuff in the space too. I feel like I'm finally feeling a little bit more at home, and I haven't for a couple of years now. So I'm starting to hang things up and actually make this space feel my own. So I'm adding all my art prints and pins and all that stuff that I personally enjoy, and I'm finally hanging it up. And I never do that when I move into a place. I always feel like I'm going to move, and I usually do. So yeah, that's kind of what's been going on, but I got a couple of little side projects I'm going to throw into this video as well, just to kind of show you the updates. And a little bit later we'll probably do some voiceover stuff over some footage of me drawing and making some different things. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So first thing I'm planning to make right now are pinboards, and I actually made this one as a test the other day. I got a bunch of cork and some rubber cement and this wood frame. I think I got the frame from Michael's. It was pretty cheap. It was like something on sale, so I wanted to do a test, and the test came out great. It's a matte pinboard. I stained it with India ink. I use Speedball India ink for staining wood. I like the finish of it, and it creates a nice rich tone of black. You guys can kind of see here. It's probably a little hard to focus, but it's a really nice rich tone, and I really like it. I think it looks good. It's also known as ebonizing wood. But I had another idea, and the idea was to make an even bigger pinboard. And because we're just getting at the end of spooky season here, it's now like the first week in November. October was insane for me, and I didn't have time to make anything. Like, it's my favorite time of year, but I had no time at all. I'm now working at a candle factory. I still do stuff locally here with a cinema, and I'm doing some freelance stuff on the side. But I had the idea to do a giant coffin pinboard with one of those really cheap coffin signs that you get from a hobby store like Michael's or Hobby Lobby or wherever, and I found one for like 10 bucks, and I'm going to show you so far what I got done because I didn't think to film it. Alright, so this is the actual coffin frame here. People make signs out of them for Halloween decorations. I decided I'm going to make a pinboard out of this. So I've actually already gone ahead and done the first coat of pre-stain on here, sanded down the edges, The wood's really cheap, it's inexpensive, keeps it lightweight, which is good because I got real cork, and cork is actually pretty heavy. So I've actually already gone ahead and stained this, and then this reflective shiny bit here, if you can see that picking up on the camera, that's actually rubber cement. Barge's all-purpose rubber cement to be exact. The stuff smells terrible when you first use it. It off-gases like crazy, so I highly recommend if you're going to tackle this project or try it on your own, that you definitely do it outside or in a well-ventilated area. I've had people yell at me in the past in the comments about that. Do what you want to do. I'm just letting you know that it smells bad and it's not good for your health. But take the precautions you wish to take and you're most comfortable with. For me, I'm going to do this outside. So this is already dry, so this is good to go. But I actually have to laminate the cork together. So basically what I need to do now is I need to cut 2 oversized pieces of cork that are larger than this actual shape here. I'm going to cut them as rectangles just to make my life a little bit easier when laminating. We're close enough to it. And then I need to laminate those together with rubber cement. So I'm going to grab an example of that so you can see what it looks like real quick. Alright, so these are actually some leftover cutoff pieces here. If you can kind of see inside there, these are actually glued together. They're 2 separate individual pieces. Here's one that's a little bit offset so you can kind of see the difference. 2 pieces of cork laminated together to make one more solid and rigid piece. I doubled up on this because the pins themselves for enamel pins and things like that, the post can be a little bit longer than what this material is. So when I ordered it, I thought it would be just long enough, but it wasn't quite, not long enough, thick enough, sorry. It wasn't quite thick enough for what I intended to use it for. So I doubled it up. Worked pretty well. It's just contact cement holding these together. So you do a coat of contact cement on the 2 pieces. You wait for them to dry and then you stick them together. And that's what creates these laminated pieces of cork. So these are off-cut pieces, like I said before. I cut it on a giant roll, and it comes sort of like a poster, and it's it's curled. So I'm going to cut the 2 pieces. I'm going to coat them both with barge rubber cement or contact cement, and we're going to let those dry. It takes anywhere from an hour to 5 hours. It's randomly 80 degrees today in November, so we're going to take advantage. We're going to do this outside really quick, and we're going to basically let these off-gas outside, so all the fumes and stuff, they're not inside my apartment, it's outside, and I'll let those sit out there for about an hour. And after that, I'm going to laminate them together. Basically all I do is you stick them together. Once they make contact, they're permanently bonded. They're not going to separate. It's very difficult to separate contact cement once it has bonded. Not impossible, but very difficult. Like, it's really hard to do. The cork will probably break, like it just did there, if I try to actually delaminate it. So, really strong bond. I'm going to go grab the cork so you guys can see what that looks like. I'm also going to leave all of the materials that I was able to get through Amazon in the description below. Alright, so this is the giant roll of cork I was able to get. You really don't need something this thick or this big even to do this project. You can actually use thinner cork and then use foam board underneath it to help receive the pins. But I bought this giant roll because I found it really cheap. I think I paid $50 for this entire massive roll of cork. I think it's cool. I'm going to use it for other projects. Have some other ideas in mind. But you don't need something this big. You probably get something a little bit smaller unless you plan to do some really big cork projects. Originally I was going to do an entire wall or do a giant frame and fill it with corkboard just to have a giant pinboard. And I still might be able to do that because I have plenty of this stuff. So we're going to start by measuring out and cutting for this guy right here. And we want it to be larger than the actual interior surface area that we're going to be cutting. So to do that, we're going to measure it out, and I have a little tape measure here. And we're going to basically measure the width of the coffin at its widest point, and we're going to go beyond that by a couple inches. We don't really need to go that much more, but just to be safe. Alright, so it's about 14 inches wide. We're going to go 16 inches just to be safe. And I'm going to wrap this around here, and we're going to find where to cut it basically. And Right here seems like a good spot on the roll. You can also like roll this out. The cork is fragile. If you pull on it too hard in the corner, you can chip it off if you're not careful. We're gonna use a box cutter to do this. I recommend a new one that's nice and sharp. I actually bought one specifically just to do this project, where the blades have only been used to cut the cork. And I gotta find where I put that, so give me a second. All right, so I got the box cutter here. It's a retractable one. Really sharp, and the reason you want to get a nice sharp blade for this is you want to be able to do the cuts as clean as possible and as smooth as possible. So with a sharp blade, you can actually get a nice clean edge cut on there, if you can see that. Gives you a nice clean cut, and that's what you want when you're cutting cork. You want just one continuous cut. You don't want to do a little sawing motion because you can tear the material apart. But I'm not using a ruler, so it's following the curve of how I'm using the blade, if you can see that. And it gives you a nice clean edge. Okay, and we're just gonna go back to where we were on the measurement, which was about 16 inches. We're just gonna do a quick measurement of rounds. We're gonna be, we said about 16 inches. Gets us right about here as it wraps around. We're gonna actually go maybe a little further past, and we'll open this up to about there. I'm gonna glue the opposite sides together to help with this bowing problem. Once it gets stuck down to the actual wooden base, it's not gonna be a problem at all. But there's tape that's on this one that's used to hold it together. We're just gonna remove that. And we're gonna glue this entire side here. And same thing with this curved side here, and then when I go to laminate it together, it will make a bit more sense why we did that. But I'm running out of sunlight right now. It is early November, even though it's randomly 80 degrees in New England. All right, let me get the cement and we'll get gluing these. Okay, so this is the barge contact cement we're gonna use. This is their universal or all-purpose version. This stuff smells really bad. I'm actually not gonna do this inside because it smells so bad. We're gonna do it outside, but I'm gonna open it up just so you can see it real quick. Inside it'll be a little bit easier. And this is it. Comes with a built-in brush. It's goopy, it smells bad. It dries translucent, but it's got a yellowish tinge to it, so something to be aware of if you plan to use it for other projects. We're gonna go do this outside though real quick, so I will see you guys outside and we will get this going. All right, so we are outside. I have the cork board ready to go. We're gonna laminate this with the rubber cement. I got a larger brush because the one that comes inside the can is really small, and I don't think it's gonna be very easy to coat everything. We're gonna start from one side and go to the other, doing a fairly generous coat. This brush was used to stain the board before. It's been drying for a few days. There's still a little bit of moisture left. It shouldn't affect the rubber cement, but we'll see. If it starts creating an issue, then I'm just going to not use it. Plain and simple. I have this balancing on my recycling bin, so it might be a little hard to prevent the shakes and stuff if I do a time lapse. Just bear with me. I haven't filmed a video in a long time. Please be kind to me about it. Alright, so you can see that this brush is way too small to do a bunch of area easily. And we're gonna basically just go edge to edge. We want to get this nice and coated. You could probably do a few coats if you wanted on something like this. Generally, for my purposes, this is a fairly light duty application, so it doesn't really matter too much. This is going to take forever, so we're going to try using the larger brush and see if that helps. Alright, so I got the first one coated. The fumes is trying to get to me a little bit. I'm going to try to power through this second one and leave these out for as long as I can for them to dry before I bring them inside and press them together. So it has a minimum of 1 to 5 hours to dry depending on how thick the coat is. But for best results, it says to leave it overnight and do a second coat if needed. I don't think I'm going to need to do a second coat, but I'm definitely going to plan this out a little bit better for the next time. You can get a roller and a thinner contact cement, but this is what I can find. And also, this is stuff that you can get on Amazon if you do want to try this project on your own. all these materials for the most part, other than the wooden boards, you can get on Amazon. Some of them you might be able to find similar items on Amazon, and I will link those as well. Alright, so I just finished gluing both of these up. I have contact cement all over me, so I'm going to try to wash that off. This stuff is super messy and smells terrible, like I said before. It's no joke. It's not something you want to mess around with. Inside. Do it outside. Makes a huge mess. I keep this in a plastic bag when it's closed. And this is towards the bottom, so the top is all messed up now, just from it dripping out. Trying to do this as quickly as possible. You have a short working window to get it on there before it tacks up. This brush is now dead, so I'm going to go inside and we're going to let this dry for as long as we can, and we'll stick it together before I go to bed tonight. Alright, so I've already brought these inside. It's been about an hour they've been drying. They're still kind of tacky, and we actually want them to be less tacky. We want them to be almost, well, we don't want them tacky. That's what we're going for. So this has been sitting actually for a couple days, and there's no tackiness to it at all. Whereas these have been only drying for about an hour, and you can kind of, I don't know if you can hear that, but still too tacky for our purposes. We could bond these together, but I think it's going to be a better bond if we let this cure a little bit longer. Contact cement only sticks to itself, similar to silicone, so it's not going to bond to other surfaces that touch against it unless it's contact cement, or it shouldn't at least. But with it being tacky, it could, and basically like dust and Winston fur will get all over it. So we're just gonna let this sit for a little bit longer. Winston is hiding underneath my bed. Here's a little clip of Winston. It's a cat my roommate adopted. He's very cute, and I hang out with him every day. But we're gonna wait on this. I'm actually just doing some website stuff now. We're updating, and I figured I'd show you some projects. Kind of talk about starting over. Yeah, it's a weird conversation to have, but I want to set you guys up over on my desk, and we're gonna kind of talk about that. All right, guys. So I'm not really sure how to even talk about this or bring it up, but I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna do my best. So I'm basically starting my career over. I am starting almost at zero and trying to rebuild my illustration and design career. So for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know the last year for me has been kind of intense, and I've been moving around quite a bit, and I didn't really have a stable place to be for over a year. And it definitely put a strain on my career professionally as a designer and also as an illustrator. I don't know how to really talk about this, and I'm going to try to be as positive as I can, because being negative about it and being pissed off that things happen that are out of your control doesn't make it any better. So we're going to try to avoid that. But yeah, I'm starting from zero. I am now working 2 different random jobs to kind of support myself, and then freelancing on the side when I have work trickling in. But when I first moved here, I lost a lot of clients that hit hard times. I work primarily with smaller independent skateboard brands and clothing companies and things like that. And they already don't have much money to begin with as it is. So I'm working for much less than I should be. I'm going above and beyond to work with the type of clients I want to work with and make the type of work that I want to make. And that was just because I was sick of doing things I didn't like. And I didn't really have a backup plan. I wasn't expecting to have my apprenticeship end so abruptly. I wasn't expecting to have to move back in with a strange family. And I wasn't expecting to even move to Salem. It just kind of lined up, and now I'm here. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what I've been doing to sort of get back to my career and starting over. And it's been weird. I've gotten to do some really fun projects in that process. Finding new clients or moving to new areas is really scary, especially if you do a lot of freelance stuff. And it's totally fine to have a day job or multiple day jobs if you need them to kind of get back on your feet. And most people, they're working a day job in conjunction to just freelancing. So
it's not that big a deal. But a lot of people make it seem like a big deal, or that you're not going to be able to make it, or you haven't made it because you're working for somebody else, and that's a complete. It's a fugazi. It's a fiction. It's not real. It's a mentality that's made by an upper class level of people that work in creative industry to belittle people that don't have the same access or privilege to the things that they had access to. Going to art school doesn't make you an artist, or same thing, studying design doesn't make you the best designer. It's through your experience, the hard work that you're willing to put into something, and a lot of people get up into positions of prominence and power because of their, whether it be financial means or other forms of associated privilege and connection. So I kind of want to dispel that myth and rumor that exists, and primarily on Instagram and mostly on YouTube. I've noticed a lot of the big art accounts or creative accounts that are on these platforms with some of the biggest names, they kind of lie to you, and I understand why. And it is it's a dangerous thing to do, and I don't think it's good or helpful to people that are just trying to start off in their careers creatively, especially for people that come from a similar background to what I come from. If you don't have a lot of money, or your family doesn't, or you don't have the ability to go to college and those sort of things because of financial burdens, it's really hard to watch these people tote about success and claim that it's only hard work and not admit that they have a leg up on everyone. And it's fine. I don't expect these people to even understand that, because they probably don't realize that they do have that advantage and that privilege. They're not going to see it that way because they are doing hard work and they are putting in time to their craft, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going through the same struggles you might be going through as a creative. So just keep that in mind, and take what I say with a grain of salt, because my experience is not going to be your experience, and this is basically, I'm going to show you, like, this is how you can start off your career or start your career completely over, and try to have more fun with it. Pick the jobs you want to do and make friends, and find clients that understand what you're trying to do creatively and appreciate what you're trying to do creatively. So we're going to talk about some projects I recently did since I moved here and starting over. Okay, so I guess the easiest way to kind of talk about this is actually tell you a way to start, I guess, finding clients and starting over, right? So I would imagine if you're in this situation, whether you're starting for the first time or trying to start over, you still have some form of established body of work or creations that you've done in the past, and you want to try to, use that to your advantage. Or if you have social media accounts that exist, you want to curate your work and maybe build a bit of a following. It doesn't have to be massive, but enough for people to see what you're making. For me, I do have the benefit of having pre-existing clients, working for some larger brands like Converse and things like that do work in my favor in certain circles. In other circles, it's totally irrelevant. So we're going to work with a circle where it doesn't really matter, if that makes any sense. My first client since moving to Salem is a local clothing brand and a print shop. The clothing company is Flying Monkey. They have a retail store here, and I've done about 3 graphics for them so far. Just some kind of weird things. This is actually one of them. This is a cat cauldron kind of trick-or-treat shirt. If you guys can see that, I'm going to do some stills of the actual digital artwork itself so you guys can see what that looks like. But that's one of the pieces I did for them. I also did a kind of like a local tourist favorite spot to visit from the movie Hocus Pocus, so did a graphic for that. It was a pretty fun project, and the owner of Flying Monkey and Gorilla Printing is super nice. His name's Gabe, and we kind of just went back and forth, figured out some stuff that would do well in his shop and some stuff that's a little bit more evergreen that he can kind of have all the time. And we did a few graphics, and I actually met him by literally just walking into a shop. I went right down the street. There's a print shop. That's his print shop. I walked in, I told him my services, I told him kind of like what I do, I showed him my website, I showed him some samples of work that I've done in the past, and we started a conversation. And that's honestly the best way to find clients for the first time if you don't have any new clients, or if you don't have pre-existing clients. You need to go and make those connections. And if you're not necessarily a social person, or you don't have anything in your immediate area, or you don't live in a city, email people, cold call. Like, send your portfolio to people and offer them a service, something that you can do for them that they can benefit from. You can tell everyone in the world that you're the best artist and the best designer and this and that. It doesn't matter, because everyone's doing that. And if you can't either solve a problem for somebody, benefit them in some way, or work collaboratively where it's mutually beneficial on a project, it doesn't matter what you do, because they don't have the time or necessarily the resources to dedicate to something that everyone is offering, and sometimes cheaper than what you're offering it for. So you gotta scrap the entitlement and the ego a little bit when it comes to finding new clients. You're in a pond of a million other fish, right? Like, you're not standing out to that level when you first start out, because you don't have a reputation or a track record that they might be familiar with. So you need to show them that, and you need to show that you can deliver on time and be a useful asset to them. So that worked out. I could do designs for Gabe that fit the theme and vibe generally of his brand and his local demographic. I was able to work with him, and we did a couple runs of shirts, we did a couple graphics, and it actually led into my next client. So he had recommended some other people to me. I've met other printers also since then, since being here, that I've also worked with on a couple of other projects. So the next big project that I did was for Cinema Salem. They're a independent cinema. They're right here in the Witch City Mall. They're, a fun place. I actually worked there, slinging popcorn, selling movie tickets, and filling up soda. Like, it's a day job, but I have a skill set that I can utilize, and I can share with them and kind of, be a problem solver. And one of the problems that they had was their graphics and their design and the direction. The theater's changed hands, multiple times over the years, and they don't really have an established identity and things like that. Like, they have a logo, but there's really no kind of excitement behind the brands other than that it's been there forever. It's the only one in town, So I want to do something more fun. Our crowd and demographic leans more in the horror and kind of spooky direction, especially in October in this area. It's crazy. So I started designing things that sort of had that kind of feel and that vibe. So we did a t-shirt, and we did some stickers and things like that, and we just did a hoodie. But I had them actually, use a resource I already made locally. I worked with Gabe to print the first run of shirts. He's actually done 2 or 3 since then. And the cinema has sold, I think, over 100 of these shirts easily by now. I'm going to show you that graphic real quick. And I'll show you some of the stickers and other things we were working with. And also a hoodie that I actually had to find another printer for. So this is actually the shirt that I did for the cinema. So the first one, this is a parody on Black Sunday. It's a classic horror film about witches and vampires. It's one of my personal favorites. It's a black and white film, and it's wonderful. I personally love it. Other people at the cinema also love the movie. So we decided to do some graphics, and I actually redrew the artwork and had to change the face slightly, obviously for copyright purposes. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So these were screen printed, and these were screen printed with my previous client. So my previous client that I did designs for, who's also a printer, screen printed these for me for the cinema, and they came out great. We've done a bunch of these so far. They've been selling great at the cinema. Like I said, we've already sold over 100 of these, and that's awesome. That's a really nice feeling, to have a design do that well, especially just offering the service and then showing that it does well. And that's something I also want to kind of talk about when you're finding new clients. If you have a project that does exceptionally well with a client, they're more likely to use you again for future projects. So you really want to put your all into every project that you're doing. So the next thing that we did was we did some stickers to go along with this shirt, and some different graphics that are a little bit more evergreen, and they're not just for, you know, the spooky audience and that demographic that's into like horror films and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you some of those stickers real quick. I'll do the digitals on screen and some photos, and I have a couple kicking around that you can actually check out. Alright, so sticker design number 1 that I did was this one, the I Still Go to the Movies bumper stickers. So if you guys can see that there, yeah, these are the I Still Go to the Movies bumper stickers. These came out great. These were done with a printer I've worked with in the past. They're a little bit smaller than I anticipated. Even though I printed these out, we cut them out, and we were going back and forth on size, we figured this is the best one to start with. These have been super popular. Then we have a take on one of the old logos there. It might be a little harder to see right there, but you guys can see that. So it's got the old logo. It's kind of like one of those 90s graphics where it's like a globe. We got the slogan going around it. It's okay, not my favorite design. It should have been bigger, and it probably would have done a little bit better. And now we move on to something that was a little bit more fun. That's kind of more my style and something that I brought to them. Yeah, this is another one that I really like. This is another slogan one. It is a glow-in-the-dark sticker. If you guys can see that. So it says, I see movies at Cinema Salem. It's got an eyeball on there. It's got a simplistic illustration, single color. I really like doing single color graphics as a graphic designer because I like that look of traditional screen printed items and DIY stuff. And single color was always the cheapest to do for any form of print, so that's why I usually do all the graphics single color. It's just kind of ingrained in my brain to do that. So this is all single color. And if this was screen printed, this would make the cost less expensive, but still look pretty detailed. These are actually glow in the dark, and they're a little tiny, so I actually have them on the back of my phone, and they look pretty good. And there's a buddy of mine, that's his sticker right there, that's Failed Imagineer, that little Mickey sticker. But I thought the sticker would actually look better if it was a little bit larger. So we did that. We got another run of those stickers because they did so well. We actually got a large version, which is on my glow-in-the-dark water bottle. It's probably a little difficult to see it right now with the lighting in here. Sorry about that. But they look really good. So here's some photos of those stickers here. I'll show you on screen. And those were a hit. So after the shirt did so well so quickly, within less than a month, we sold over 100. I think we're actually getting pretty close to over 200 of that shirt sold. It was going to be getting colder. We were moving into October. We would get complaints pretty consistently that the cinema is a little chilly. It's an old building, and the AC is like constantly running in there just to keep the climate control pretty consistent and a little bit more comfortable to watch movies. You don't want it 90 degrees in the movie theater. It's just not a good time. So generally it's pretty cold in there, and we would get complaints all the time that it's either too cold and our system doesn't allow us to easily turn it down. So we decided we'll do a hoodie. We're going to move into the colder months, and this could have options for people, right? So we did a hoodie graphic, and Gabe doesn't necessarily like to do glow-in-the-dark graphics, right? Some printers have a hard time with it when their shop's set up. Some just don't like doing glow-in-the-dark prints. And I didn't want to bother him with this one because we had talked about doing it with his project if he wanted to do glow-in-the-dark, and he said he didn't really like them. So I'm like, that's totally fine. And I actually found another printer not too far away from here that also could do really good quality prints, and they like doing glow-in-the-dark stuff. So I hit them up, and we had been talking previously before because of a project that I had actually posted to Instagram for Lucky's Barbershop. I don't know if I showed you guys that stuff yet, but here are some images of the stuff I did for Lucky's Barbershop. They're a barbershop that's over in New Hampshire when I lived there. Met them, and through mutual friends, and finally had time to do a project for them just before I moved here. So I'll show you guys that stuff. But anyway, they know the guys at Lucky's, they're friends, whatever it may be. They sort of know each other, and they started following me. We started talking on Instagram, and I really wanted to do a project with them, and I didn't have anything ready to go at the time. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. He had done some shirts for Lucky's, I believe, before, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to hit this guy up and see if he's down to do this hoodie. So we started talking. I sent him the artwork, sent it to a couple other print shops around, just to kind of get prices. We want to obviously keep the cost down. but he was able to come in at like a really good price, and he could get the garments I wanted, and the turnaround time was pretty insane because we were already in October before these were made. And he was able to get it done. He got it done super quick, and that's something that is a benefit from getting to know your printers and building those connections and finding new clients and finding new vendors to work with. So I'm going to show you guys those hoodies now. I'll show you some photos of those as well. Let me go grab that real quick and show you. Here is the hoodie. This is the Cinema Salem Glow in the Dark October hoodie. We have the Cinema Salem logo right on the chest here, which glows in the dark. And then we have the back graphic. So here is the back graphic here. It's actually the same as the sticker right here. So I was able to get this on there, printed really well. I'll try to do some detail shots of this stuff so you guys can see the print up close. Screen printing, you have a lot of things you have to kind of worry about, and he did a great job with this. It's a pretty thick hoodie. The ink is pretty thick itself because it's glow in the dark, but you can see, hopefully, that the halftones really came out and they look really good. So I was really happy with the print quality of this. This did really well. I think we have a couple of these left at the cinema. We might do another run if they sell out. But we got it blank, we got it in time, we made connections with a client, we were able to connect them together and work with a vendor that we haven't worked with before that has a track record of success and quality goods that I can stand by. That's Triumph Printing. I'll link their Instagrams also so you guys can check out their stuff if you want. But you can find, printers like that in your area or things that are local to you, or if you're, in the New England area, these printers are great and I've had great success working with them. If you do choose them, let them know I sent you over, Building connections and doing that sort of stuff is really helpful for you as an independent designer, especially if you don't, like I said, have the leg up that other people do. You need to find a way to be a useful resource, and people will generally return the favor. People want to see you succeed if you're helping them succeed. It's a mutually beneficial thing, and I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that stuff because a lot of people that are in prominent positions in design and illustration or YouTube creators, they don't need to talk about that stuff. It's not something that they've had to worry about. But I hope this is helpful for you to kind of understand that it's possible to do. You can start over at any point. You can change your career at any point. You can find clients, you can do that stuff. It's hard and it's not easy and you don't always succeed. But if you're consistent and you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your clients and you do quality work and you put in the time to make quality work, they're going to appreciate that. And this is a good example of 2 clients that I acquired while being here that really appreciated the stuff that I did. We're still continuously working together. One of them I still work at as an employee, and I do this stuff on the side for them. But it's continuing to allow me to find new clients. So one of the other companies I work for is a candle company, and I'm actually designing labels for them now for the holiday season. And those will probably be in the next studio vlog, once those get printed and made and whatnot. All right, well, that's sort of like the short update and kind of, my intentions and plans moving forward now that I'm here and that I'm starting to settle in and actually move into the place and make it feel like my home. I'm hoping I'll have more time to do video content and try to be a bit more authentic with you guys with my actual personality and the things that I'm into. Doing all this stuff, you have a conservative mindset of not showing too much of who you are, being kind of someone that might make the general public uneasy or uncomfortable because of your interest. I'm a weird dude. I like horror movies. I like scary, spooky shit. I swear a lot. I'm from Boston. I don't want to pretend that I'm not that, and that I'm not a really sarcastic person, a big nerd. It feels weird, right? I feel weird even having to say that, but I feel in the past I've tried to kind of put a much more positive personality that isn't myself on there, where I'm not the most positive, but I'm told pretty funny, and I'm sarcastic, and I like to make weird shit, and I'm not gonna stop doing that because it isn't the most popular video trend right now, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat the experiences I have with other people in the creative community that suck. Like, I'm not going to pretend people that are like bad and shitty aren't bad and shitty. So here's to that. Here's to now breaking over 2,500 subscribers as I'm filming this video and as you're watching it. Thank you guys so much, and I'm excited. I'm feeling a lot more positive about things, and things are looking up, and I'm really happy about it. We got updates coming on my website. I actually added a whole blog section I'm trying to keep up with, and yeah, new things going in the shop, new merch being made, new Merch and Destroy videos are in the works right now, and just weird general stuff that I'm making. So I'm gonna make a bunch of spooky stuff, and I'm gonna hopefully make this new like apartment feel more like a home for the first time ever for me. So we're gonna make stuff we want. Sorry if you hear that meowing, that's our cat Winston. I don't know if you saw a clip of him already. If not, I'm gonna put another one in so you get to see him twice, if so. Anyway, I'm rambling. I also need to start planning my videos better, and that's just because I don't. I just like sit down and start talking with a general sort of concept and idea in mind, and I just like hope it works out, and editing is a fucking nightmare every time, but hopefully not so much moving forward. All right, and some other final keynotes here. One of the big things that I'm trying to do obviously with this channel is to grow the channel, but also to sort of get more of a passive income going for myself that allows me to fund the projects I want to do and make the stuff that I want to make without being too much of a financial burden and strain on my personal expenses and things like that. So if you guys like, you can actually follow any of the links that are in this description. Those are actually all affiliate links, and I get an extremely small percentage of every sale that goes through those links, but it is greatly appreciated and doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support me over on Patreon, where I'm going to start sharing exclusive content, behind the scenes stuff, and early access sort of thing on there. There's links to that also in the description, and if you want to help directly, you can actually donate on my website, or you can purchase anything from my website, from art, stickers, toys, whatever. Yeah, that's kind of it for like updates and that sort of thing. I want to get back to the project I'm showing you in this video. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out and being fucking awesome, guys. I really appreciate it. All right, so the cork board's all pretty much ready to go. It's been sitting in here for a little bit longer. It's warmer inside. Now the temperature's dropping, so there's like a dew point out there because it was really hot today and it's getting really cold tonight. So I brought these inside so the moisture doesn't affect with the adhesive. But letting that cure a little bit longer, and I'm actually gonna bond and laminate those together. Also, by the way, this is Winston. He is a kitten my roommate adopted, and we hang out all the time. He's great, but he's a little menace sometimes because he's still a kitten. So you might see him in random video clips or hear him making lots of noise, because that's what he likes to do, because he's a little menace, but he's very cute. And you're gonna see him a lot more in all my videos, so figured I'd share him real quick because he's making a bunch of noise as I'm trying to film this. Alright, cute kitty intermission is over. Back to work. Alright, so I've actually gone ahead and measured out all the line work, and I'm going to cut this out. We're going to put a... Okay, so I've gone and I've measured out all the bits on the cork. I used the main coffin shape to trace it out. Measured the sidewalls, and from there I made all the lines that I need to cut. I'm going to cut on the inside of these lines. I'm going to use a cutting mat, and I'm going to slowly cut out each section until we have the shape that we need. And then I'm going to mount it inside the coffin, see how it fits, and then we'll glue it up. So now that I got this cut out, it took a little while, kind of a hassle. It's not perfect, but it does fit in here, just test fitted it. Before I do that again, I'm going to glue this up with some rubber cement, and then I'll actually adhere it to this and it'll be bonded.
So I'm going to go coat the back of this with rubber cement, and when that's done, I'll actually be able to stain it, do the rest of the finishing on here, and then add the hanging hook and hang this on my wall. And take those pins, in this case, and put them inside this thing. It's been about an hour now, a little bit longer probably, and this glue is actually perfectly dried. We have a couple bits that kind of gooped up. Not a big deal. I already pre-fit this, so now I'm actually just going to bond it together. So I'm going to start at the bottom. We'll press it on there, and I'll slowly add pressure all the way up until it's adhered, and then I'll show you guys what that looks like. So that's it glued together. I'm pretty happy with how this came out. I'm going to actually go in now and probably stain the cork black and touch up these little sanded down spots, and then we'll hang it up. Okay, so this board is finally done. Stained it, did a little bit of extra work to the sides, sanded it down, but I don't have an orbital sander, so I couldn't actually sand this back down to almost raw wood to restain it, so it's a little kind of splotchy in some spots, but other than that, I don't hate it. It's fine, it does the job for me. It's an awkward shape, and it had a bit of a bow to it when I bought it, so it doesn't sit super flat against the wall. So I figured I'd just put it on my door, and I could just pin random things that I need to remember on this thing and just kind of have it kicking around. But all in all, fun little side project. I made some other fun stuff with all the scrap cork, so I will show you guys that stuff real quick. So these are the little bits of cork scrap I used and made some little coasters with. Thinking about making some more stuff. I got quite a bit of this cork left over. You can see it over in the corner there. But super fun material to work with. Really easy to, kind of shape and cut. Much easier than I thought it would be. But yeah, man, that's going to be the end of this little project, and I hope you guys enjoyed all the other random stuff I shared in this studio vlog video. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I'm wrapping this video up. It's super scattered, raining all over the place. I wasn't really sure how to end it or anything or what to do. I shot it in my typical run and gun style with no sort of planning whatsoever, because my life's a little too chaotic and crazy right now for me to have that luxury where I can actually plan out the video and figure out what I want to say and do all the content and stuff like that. And it's been a long time. I haven't done this in, it feels like months, doing sort of like the studio vlog. It feels weird calling them that in the first place because it's not, I'm not in a studio. I'm in my bedroom in the apartment that I rent. So back to like square one, starting over again. But that's fine. This is basically my way of accountability and documenting that process of starting over basically from zero, right? I mean, I have the skill set, but I don't have the clients that I used to have. So I did get some fun projects, since I've moved here and since the very last studio vlog I did, which was introducing the space. I'm now in the same, apartment, in a slightly larger room, everything consolidated, all that stuff I talked about earlier in the video. But the plan is to eventually get another art studio space and, dive back into trying to screen print, making rugs and toys and all that stuff. But I can't do all that stuff in the same place I sleep. Materials are toxic and harmful to they're not things you want to sleep next to, right? Like, they're just not good for you. At least I don't want to do that, not anymore. But I am going to try to share little updates and stuff moving forward that I can kind of show you. I just need to rearrange my space when I'm doing some of these projects. I'm getting back into sculpting and doing toy stuff, and this is actually a piece that I made before. You guys have seen this. This is Planche, one of my little characters. It's a little planchette toy that I really want to turn into a vinyl toy very badly. But like most things I design, it's really complicated, and I designed the character before I thought about designing it as a toy. And I am running into a lot of little problems. So mainly how it would be pulled, the production stuff, like all that, not being able to afford like the 3D modeling software I used originally to make this thing. And I just don't have the disposable income right now to do that, but that's okay. I made molds last year of this guy, and I actually was able to cast some monster clay inside there. I cast some monster clay, reshaped it with some tools, had to do a lot of refinishing. It wasn't perfect, but it came out pretty good, and and this is solid monster clay. There's no tinfoil, nothing. Cast the little legs and everything separately, heat weld them together. There's a bunch of little small seams and stuff on here that are a little hard to focus on. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. This is a good way to sort of test things out, and where I can make a couple of these and add textures and details and things like that, and maybe figure it out by hand if I can't do the 3D itself right now, because I don't have access to the software. So if anyone's got any good recommendations on some free or extremely inexpensive 3D modeling software, this was done in Fusion 360, and Autodesk, like all the other brands, are switching to a very expensive subscription model, and I don't make any money off of 3D work, so I can't justify the expense right now. But more toward design stuff in the future. This is one I really want to do, but it's going to take a little bit more engineering to figure it out. And I have a new character I'm also working on, which I'm going to hand sculpt, and that'll be a future video. Yeah, so this has been a long outro. But anyway, that's probably going to do it for this one. I'm super grateful for you guys, all the new subscribers, especially recently. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the new content. I'm excited for the new videos that I want to make. And I have some hope for the first time in a long time that I can get back to making things I want to make and having fun making stuff. All right. That's it. Thank you guys for watching. Wolf, it's out. Peace.